No temptation, no problem. This story started in early June 2002. My boss called me into his office and told me that he would have to file bankruptcy. Then he told me not to worry, that my last paycheck would be covered, and then asked me to stay with him until the day he had to close the doors. He had been good to me during the 5 years I had worked with him, so I said I would stay. In the weeks that followed, I worked with vendors who would come in, pick up the items, and transfer them to Dale's account. 2 days before the day Dale had scheduled as his last, one of his biggest competitors came in and introduced himself to me and then asked what I planned to do when Dale closed his doors. I admitted that I hadn't looked that far ahead, and then he asked if I would consider going to work for him. Doing what? The same thing you've been doing here. I'm expanding and I need a good combination service manager and mechanic, and most of your customers have a very good opinion of you. I'm not sure that would be a good move for me. Dale had a thriving business here, but it went bust. You're in the same business, so why should I trust that you won't go under as well? It might be a case of jumping from the frying pan into the fire. It wasn't the core business that ruined Dale. It was all the different directions he tried to go in that ruined him. He had to borrow money to expand, and when the expansion didn't turn a profit, he couldn't pay off his debts. How much is Dale paying you? I told him, and he replied that he would pay me $1 an hour more to start with, and that he would reevaluate everything after 90 days. I had nothing else at stake, so I figured why not. If it didn't work out, I would still have to look for a job when Dale's closed. I'd just put off looking for a job. Okay, I told him. When's your last day of work? We close on the 16th. I'll see you on the 17th, okay? We shook hands. He walked out, got in his car, and drove away. Thus began my relationship with Paul Notting. 2 days later, Dale handed me my last paycheck and thanked me for staying with him. I looked at the check and saw that it was $500 more than I was getting, and Dale said, "That would be your Christmas bonus if we could keep it up that long." We shook hands and wished each other good luck. The next day, I walked into Paul's office, and the first thing I saw when I walked in the door was a stunning, raven-haired beauty sitting behind the desk. But before I could say anything to the woman, Paul walked in and said, "Oh, good, you're here. Melissa, this is Rob. Rob, this is my wife, Melissa. Rob is our new service manager. Take care of his paperwork, will you? I need to go down to Clarksville and see Greening." And he walked away. Melissa looked at me and smiled. "You look disappointed," she said. "Yeah, definitely." "Well, keep your cool. Paul has been known to piss me off enough that I have to go to such lengths to get even with him." "What kind of things?" "I don't know. The same thing doesn't happen twice." This conversation set the tone for my relationship with Melissa. Have you ever known a woman who could make you horny with the mere sound of her voice? Just imagine what her body measuring 36x22x35 at 5 feet 60 pounds was doing to me if her voice alone could turn me on. And Melissa was wicked. Melissa knew the effect she had on me, and she took advantage of it. She teased me and flirted with me shamelessly. Never when Paul was around, but if he wasn't and there were no clients around, she would torment me. She would tell me how horny she was, and how she wished Paul was around so they could have quick sex on his desk. She wore skirts and dresses to work, and would call me into the office on one pretext or another, and sit in a chair with the hem pulled up so I could see just the edge of her panties. It got to the point where I was simultaneously looking forward to and dreading going to work. This went on for 3 years, and for 3 years I behaved myself. It was hard, but I wasn't the type to mess around with other people's women, so I both enjoyed it and suffered in silence. One day, and I remember the day well, it was July 17th, my 3rd anniversary with the company. I got to work. Paul called me into his office and told me that Melissa and I would have to hold down the fort that day. At the store, Mark was on vacation and Bill was sick. "I need to go to Clarksville and I'll take Saul with me." "No problem," I said. "Melissa and I can handle it." Around 10, Melissa called me on the intercom. "Rob, could you come up to the office?" I wiped my hands on a rag and went up to see what she needed. Melissa was wearing a blouse and skirt and nylons and heeled shoes that day, and I was instantly horny. "Did you call?" "Yes, Rob. I need you to keep an eye out and let me know if anyone comes over. I need to make an adjustment." She started unbuttoning her blouse. I walked quickly to the door and turned the deadbolt. Melissa didn't see me do it because she was looking down at her blouse. I knew at that moment that Melissa would tease me again, and I didn't want to have to watch the door with only one eye on Melissa. I thought I would only get a glimpse of her breasts covered by her bra. But Melissa took off her blouse and then unbuttoned and removed her bra. Her breasts were magnificent. I was stunned. I froze in place, and Melissa said, "I guess I was careless when I bought that bra. It was too small and it was killing me. Why is Paul always gone when I need him so badly?" She put her blouse back on and walked past me. As she passed me, she reached down and stroked my body and said, "You really should find someone to take care of that for you." I lost my head. 3 years of frustration and desire burst out of me, and without thinking about what I was doing, I grabbed Melissa, untwisted her, and sat her on the table. She started to speak. "What? Are you letting yourself?" But only had time to say, "You think," before I started having sex with her. "You can't. We can't. You're an asshole." After that, I turned and walked back to the store, leaving her lying on the table. For the rest of the day, Melissa and I avoided each other. At home that evening, I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, so much for the guy who doesn't get involved with another man's woman. But was it my fault? Hadn't Melissa done everything but explicitly ask me to have sex with her? Did she want it? Had she hoped for it? Or was she just spitefully teasing herself? All she had to do was go to the bathroom to solve the bra problem. True, she didn't resist, but she didn't outright say, "Let's make love." She just obeyed me. Did she? Did she need to be told what to do? Was she supposed to believe she was being forced to do it? I spent a rather sleepless night wondering what would happen at work the next day. The next day at work, nothing happened. Melissa acted like nothing terrible had happened, and Paul acted like he had no idea what Melissa and I had done. Did Melissa tell him? Was he the kind of guy who would let his wife go out and play? Did he enjoy hearing her stories about what she did and with whom? I had no way of knowing, and so I stayed away from the office. It wasn't my fault. She had asked for it herself. Maybe not in words, but her actions screamed, "Make love to me!" And I did. Nevertheless, I stayed in the store and didn't go up to the office. I avoided Melissa, and it seemed like she was doing her best to avoid me. The few times I had to go up to the office, Melissa was on her best behavior. There was none of the flirting that had once been a daily element of our relationship. That didn't mean I was completely ignoring Melissa. I couldn't take my eyes off the cheating girl, but it was strictly by the book. Look but don't touch or even talk unless I was compelled to do so by business. It went on like that for the next 3 weeks. And then one Thursday morning, Paul told me he had to go to Waltersburg and would be gone all night. "I probably won't be back until after lights out tomorrow, so you'll have to lock up the store for the weekend." "No problem. Stan Witchak asked to borrow his trailer, so if he stops by, have him take it." "Will do." At night, I was always the last to leave the workshop and went around it, checking the windows, doors, and lights. After making sure the air compressor was off, I went to the service center and began the procedure of shutting down the computer. While I was doing that, Melissa came out of the office and headed towards me. And when I turned to ask her what she needed or wanted, she slapped me across the face with all her might and growled, "You miserable asshole! How could you do what you did to me and then ignore me?" She wanted to slap me again, but I caught her wrist and said, "Bullshit! If you wanted any attention from me, you would have let me know in some way." "Like what?" "Like everything you did that caused the last time this happened. For 3 years you teased me and then you've done nothing for the last 3 weeks. But since it's obvious to me that you want more of what you got last time, let's cut to the chase." I put my hands on her shoulders and pushed her onto my lap. "What are you doing?" You know very well, so get down to business." She looked up at me and growled, "Asshole!" But after saying that, she reached for my zipper. I may not be the smartest guy in the world, but I'm not completely stupid either. The way Melissa acted the first time and the way she acted when I put her on her knees told me that Melissa wanted or felt the need to be dominated. She confirmed it. "Who are you to order me around? I am your master. Anytime you are stupid enough to allow yourself to be alone with me, I will own you and you will do whatever I command you to do. Now let's have sex." She threw me a disapproving look, but still did as I commanded. "Now you know what to do," I said. "I'll have sex with you in the middle of the street in front of this building if I want to. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. Get your ass home and get ready for me." She looked at me with a long, hard stare, and then turned and walked away. I closed up and went outside. I stopped at the store and bought a few things and then headed towards Melissa's house. As I drove, I thought about the situation. I didn't go looking for him. I wouldn't have looked for it, but it had been presented to me on a platter, and wouldn't it be criminally stupid not to take advantage of it? I had no illusions. I doubted I was anything but a crush for Melissa, but she was the sexiest woman I'd ever known, and it was unlikely I'd ever get another chance to have someone like her. So I had to do it. I didn't know how long this domination would last, and maybe it was already over. I would find out when I got home. If the door was locked instead of open, I would realize it was over. I believed that dominating Melissa was doing it so I could lie in bed next to my husband and say to myself, "I'm not really cheating. I don't want to do it, but he's making me. I can't stop him. I've tried, but I can't stop him," or something like that. Anyway, I decided that I would take as much from Melissa as she would let me. I had no doubt that if she decided to end it, she would do so firmly and decisively. Surprise, surprise. The front door was not only unlocked, but even slightly ajar when I got there, and as I entered the bedroom, I found her looking just as I had asked her to. We made love, and then I exhaled, and Melissa fell on the bed. She looked up at me as if to say, "Okay, what's next?" Before I could say anything, the phone rang. Melissa rolled over on her stomach and answered the call. It was Paul. She lied and said she was in the bathroom when he called, and then they talked about whatever married couples talk about, and I was on my knees looking at Melissa's perfect figure. Early in the morning, Melissa disappeared into the bathroom, and seconds later I heard the shower running. I thought about joining her and washing her back while she washed mine, but dismissed the idea as a bad one. It would lead us back to bed, and after the morning and evening's activities, I wasn't sure I could do it. Up to this point, I had been quite successful in my duties. It was best to leave it in Melissa's memory that I was a stud. When she came out, I went to take a shower, and when I got dressed and went downstairs, I found her in the kitchen pouring herself a cup of coffee. She showed me where the cups were and pointed to the creamer and sugar on the counter. "I'm not much of a morning person. Breakfast isn't my forte. If you need something to start your day, Denny's is open." She took a sip of coffee, then said, "I have no idea why I let what happened happen. I don't know how I let it get away from me, how I did it. I love my husband, and he didn't deserve what I just did to him. I let you do things to me that I never have and never will let Paul do, and I don't know why. But what I do know is that it will never happen again. Do we understand each other?" I took a sip of my coffee and, looking her straight in the eye, said, "Sure, whatever you say. Your word is law. You understand? Your wish is my command. You are the boss. Until the next time you come after me. I didn't start this. You did. You knew exactly what would happen when you undressed in front of me and then grabbed me. It wasn't my fault. I let you tease me for over 3 years and never once made a move in your direction, and it would have gone on like that for another 10 or 20. You're the one who changed everything, not me. Even after that first time, I stayed away from you. And again, you came after me on your own. So don't give me that. We got it all figured out. Keep your hands to yourself and we don't have a problem. How about we clear it up if we're going to clear it up?" I set my cup down and walked out of her house. For the next 2 weeks, Melissa stayed away from me, and I wondered how long it would be before she made the next move. The wait wasn't long. On Friday, Paul called me into the office and asked me to sit down. Melissa was sitting at her desk, but she wasn't looking at me. Paul said, "There's no easy way to do this, so I guess I'd better just do it. Business had slowed down and money was tight. Melissa has gone through all the books, and we don't see any way we can continue to operate at our current salary. You know how it is, Rob. Last one in first, and you were my last employee. I have your last check here." And he held it out to me. "It includes 4 weeks of severance pay, a week's salary for every year and part year you've worked here, and of course I'll give you a glowing letter of recommendation. Again, I'm sorry. I wish things were different." I stood up, and he did too, extended his hand to me. I took it, and we shook. I looked at Melissa, and she looked at me. She wasn't smiling or smirking, but I could tell from her eyes and the expression of her mouth what she was thinking. If there's no temptation, there's no problem. Paul was standing to my left and didn't see me as I smiled at Melissa and winked. I turned and walked out of the office. The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.